Sometimes quantity doesn't equal quality. And Tim Ferriss's book, The 4 Hour Workweek, is a perfect example of that, where he talks about automating your tasks so that you free your time and you liberate yourself. And unfortunately for Tim, his book was turned down 26 out of 27 publishers. 26 times he was turned down. That is amazing. That should be a sign for any person watching this that if you're passionate about something, go for it. Don't hesitate and don't fear. If Tim, who's a great writer that had a great book, by the way, it was an amazing book. If he got turned down 26 times and he still went through with it, that should be a sign for you to keep going no matter how many times you get turned down by anyone. The 4 Hour Workweek nearly didn't become the #1 New York Times bestseller, and it wouldn't have been if he didn't have that desire to follow through with what he wrote and fully believe in himself. Tim Ferriss wrote the 4 Hour Workweek for all those tired of postponing their life until retirement, who instead want to live life large and in the moment right now. Let me know in the comments, what do you think of this book? Do you like this book? Is there something that you're interested in terms of finance? Me, right now, I'm not that interested in finance as I used to be. This is a book I read in 2022 and was something that I felt is important to cover. The 4 Hour Workweek aims to give you more time and more mobility. There are two of the defining attributes of what Ferriss refers to as the new rich. Now, the new rich he's referring to is, I don't know when this book was published, but he's referring to the people that follow this acronym called DEAL. And let's see what this deal is about. Here we have D for definition. Turns misguided common sense on its head and instead introduces new rules and objectives. So DEAL is really about understanding the concept of the new rich and understanding that you don't need to put time for money, but more so effort for money. And as opposed to what you would think about success being a solo venture, it's more of a team effort and building a great team so that you can split your time between each other and ultimately gain success. Next part of the acronym is E for elimination. This step argues for the elimination of the concept of time management. This you'd have to read his book to see. He goes more in detail on this topic. The next is A for automation. Looks at putting your cash flow on autopilot. This focuses on, instead of you managing everything yourself, find ways to delegate tasks to whether it's other people, whether it's programs online or AI or whatever it is. Find ways to delegate things so you're not restricted by time, because the moment you think that you have to take everything on yourself, everything becomes restricted to how much time you have. And you're not going to be going as far as the rest of the people that build a team of great people, of programs, and ultimately have more time than you when you combine it all together. The next one, L, is for liberation. Liberation is not necessarily about cheap travel. It's about being free from the binds that keep you tied to a single location. The new rich are defined by a more elusive power than simple cash, unrestricted mobility. So this idea that he's trying to put across is that instead of you thinking that you need a 40-hour work week to gain success in what you're trying to do, and let me make this clear in what I'm trying to. Obviously, this book is about money. Let's cut the crap. This book is about money. It's about how to gain money. But if we apply this to life principles, it can be something of more of a valuable lesson too, I believe. So the 4-hour work week is about limiting your time, as opposed to people telling you to increase your time weekly to gain what you're trying to gain. If you figure out ways to reduce the amount of time you're spending on something, it could be beneficial in the long run. Ferriss states that money is multiplied in practical value according to the 4 W's. What you do, when you do it, where you do it, whom you do it with. Uncertainty and the prospect of failure prevent people from trying new things. So people that are scared of something they're more likely just to not even touch it and stay with complacency. And it's a matter of how we are. When we feel that feeling of fear, we'll do almost anything to get away with it, get away from it. And there are cases where people face their fears that requires courage. Do you have that courage? Most people will choose unhappiness over uncertainty. Ferris suggests that if fear is preventing you from making a choice, imagine the worst case scenario in detail. Then work out how you can salvage your life if the worst case come to pass. Think about it. It's an important consideration of considering the worst case scenario. If you consider what's the worst that can happen? Ferris claims that we should forget about time management. It's a trap. You shouldn't be trying to fill up your time every second with work. Now that you've thought about what you want to do with your time, you've got to find out a way to create more free time while maintaining or increasing your income. The key is to remember that what you do is infinitely more important than how you do it. So this is the aspect of someone, if you have two people, person A, person B, person A spends 15 hours completing a task and gets a high success rate at it. However, you have person B who spends 4 hours doing that same task and completing higher success rate than the person A. That's because person B was better at time management, which is, he's saying to scrap it. But what he's talking about in that time management aspect is people that talk about time management, they could be talking about, okay, here's your weekly schedule, and from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. fill up your time. You have your workout, work, education, whatever it is, meditation. They throw random stuff in there, journaling. They throw out anything. Spend 3 hours on a passion you know nothing about, but they tell you to fill up your time from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You follow that routine, but you're not really being productive because you're spending all of that time on those small little things where you could really narrow those down, and where you can narrow those things down. So he talks about increasing the free time you have while increasing the productivity and results you get. Ferris utilizes Pareto's 80-20 principle. The idea that 80% of output will result from 20% of input. Put it down below if you ever heard of that one. Some of the most critical skills necessary for becoming a member of the new rich are learning how to communicate and to manage remotely. Yeah, so learning how to be remote with things, not being hands-on all the time, because you don't need to be hands-on with everything. Beyond repair, killing your job, liberation. Some jobs are salvageable, however, some jobs are not worth salvaging. Just because you may have invested a lot of time into a job doesn't make it a worthwhile venture. Yeah, that's a message to people that they have something. Okay, so let's put a scenario of let's say Joe. We have Joe who's been working full-time at a company for 15 years, but on the side, he's had a passion he's been pursuing for over 8 years, and his passion is starting to get him some money and some traction, and he's starting to accomplish things, and the only thing that's limiting him is his full-time job. His full-time job is taking a lot of time from him, 8.5 hours a day. If he was to quit his job, it would give him more time to pursue his passion, and since he's already making money that is equivalent to whatever he's making at his job, he wouldn't lose much in terms of financial stability in that year. Someone like Joe, he should really consider pursuing his passion if that's something he would see himself doing for the next 30 years. That's something he should really consider and something he should really do if he feels comfortable. And sometimes, like how Tim said, jobs are not salvageable. You cannot salvage a job. Sometimes you need to take that leap, and since you're gonna die someday, you need to consider what do you want, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind, what kind of impact do you want to have. It gets more deep on the surface, but this is what this channel's for. I feel comfortable talking about this kind of stuff on this channel. in terms of your future and what do you want to accomplish. I hope this has been beneficial to all of you guys watching this video.